I never thought an Uber driver's stupid joke would be the first crack in the life I thought I had with my wife. It was late. I was the last of my friends to leave the party, the kind of night where you're just tipsy enough to keep repeating, yeah, I should get going, but never actually make it out the door. My friend Leah finally shoved my jacket at me. Go before you miss surge pricing, Will. Tell Rachel I said hi. Out on the curb, the Uber pulled up. A battered black Camry, the roof light a little crooked. The driver rolled the window down and grinned at me, gold tooth flashing. William? I slid into the back seat. He caught my eye in the rear view. Big night? He asked, accent thick, but words sharp. Something like that. I tried to sound casual. Small talk was fine if it meant getting home. He launched right in. You'd be surprised what I see at night, my friend. Wild, wild people. Sometimes beautiful ladies, you know? Sometimes I wish I could just drive and not talk, but they want to tell me their whole life, or something else. I smiled politely. Yeah, city's full of characters, I mumbled, fishing for my phone. He glanced in the mirror again. But there's one. Oh, man, she's special. Real knockout. Always smells like vanilla and those expensive flowers. She laughs, always this loud laugh, and she talks like she owns the world, you know? I tell her, you want front seat, music, whatever. She just says, let's make this interesting, Dimitri. He tapped the dash. I glanced up. Vanilla and flowers. Rachel always bought that overpriced perfume. She called it signature. Weird coincidence. He kept going. She likes her rides late. Sometimes she pays me, other times she pays in different ways, if you know what I mean. He made a lewd motion with his hand. Married too, but that don't matter these days. He snorted. My stomach twisted, but I tried to laugh. Bit risky. You sure you're not just making that up to keep your passengers entertained? He laughed, eyes lighting up in the mirror. You know, sometimes truth is stranger than story. But you know her, trust. She always wears this, what is that, yellow dress, tight, hair pulled back, pretty red ring on her finger. Laughs like she's the boss. His voice was too casual, but I could feel my ears burn. I cleared my throat. No, Rachel's at home tonight. Probably asleep already. She's solid, you know. He grinned, flipping on his blinker. Rachel, huh? That's funny. That's her name, too. His laugh was ugly this time, sharp and knowing. Maybe I give her a ride again, eh? Next time, I charge double. I forced a laugh, but my mind was spinning. Lots of Rachels in the world, I managed, but it sounded weak. He dropped me at my street, still grinning. Hey, you tell your Rachel. Dimitri says hi. She'll know. He winked, then sped off. I stood in the cold for a second, keys digging into my palm, before heading inside. When I slipped into bed, Rachel was already curled up, blanket over her head. She smelled like her usual perfume, vanilla and something floral, just like Dimitri described. I brushed my teeth and sat on the edge of the mattress, watching her breathe for a minute. What the hell was that ride? She shifted in her sleep and murmured something, pulling the blanket tighter. I almost laughed at myself. Maybe I was just being paranoid. Cities full of Rachels. Still, his words echoed. Tell your Rachel, Dimitri says hi. I tried to settle, but my mind kept wandering back to that yellow dress, that laugh, the way Dimitri's eyes had landed on my hand. Her hand. In the dark, I reached over just to touch her arm, to remind myself this was all ridiculous. She flinched, muttering, cold hands, before turning her back to me. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, willing myself to let it go. but the scent of her perfume clung to the sheets, impossible to ignore. The days after that Uber ride, things started slipping sideways, but in ways that felt just out of sight. Rachel had always been a night owl, but suddenly her work nights stretched longer. She used to set up her tablet at the kitchen table, sketching banners and layouts with half the lights on and some old indie song humming in the background. Now, most evenings she'd be in the second bedroom, door pulled almost, but not quite, shut. One Thursday, I brought her a mug of chamomile, just routine. I knocked and pushed the door open, but she jolted upright and dropped her phone face down, like I'd barged in half naked. Jesus, Will, can you announce yourself? She snapped, voice sharp enough to actually hurt a little. Sorry, I said, half laughing. Just thought you could use some tea. Been at it for hours. You okay in here? She rubbed her forehead, not meeting my eyes. I'm just stressed. I have to finish this logo by tomorrow, and my client keeps sending new notes every 5 minutes. She snatched the mug and set it down hard. Can you please just close the door? I can't focus. I nodded, backing out. All right, I'll leave you to it. Let me know if you want something else. She just waved me off, already grabbing her phone again, her thumb moving in frantic little circles over the screen. Things like that kept stacking up. Friday night, I waited for her with takeout, figuring we'd unwind. She texted at 8, running late. Client emergency. I ate alone, TV flickering on some rerun neither of us liked. When she finally came through the door a little before midnight, she looked off. Her lipstick was faded, but not like it had worn away naturally, like she'd tried to wipe it off quick in the car. I barely had time to process before she tossed her bag down. How was it? I asked, trying to keep it light. Rough client? Don't start. She sighed, pulling her hair up. I can't deal with an interrogation after the day I've had. I forced a grin. Whoa, just making conversation. Didn't expect secret agent stuff. She rolled her eyes. Will, can we not do this? Everyone is on my case lately. You, my mom, my clients. I'm allowed to be tired. That stung, but I tried to swallow it. Fine. I'll give you space. But she was already halfway to the bathroom, pulling her phone out, screen tilted sharply towards her. That next week, she cycled through passcodes, facial recognition, some new lock screen app. I'd see her thumb flick up when a message came in, always just out of my line of sight. Her phone just left her pocket, and one night I heard her voice from the hallway, soft, low, almost flirting, then dead silence as soon as I got close. She caught me listening, and her face closed off in a second. If you're going to hover, I'll just go take a walk, she snapped. Rachel, I just needed my charger. Sure you did. She stormed past, grabbing her jacket, slamming the door behind her. I just stood there in the kitchen, charger in hand, feeling like a total idiot. I kept telling myself it was just stress, that I was being weird. Maybe she just needed space, but my optimism was wearing thin. The moment that really got me, though, happened late on a Sunday. She was curled up at the edge of the couch, scrolling through her phone, half watching something on Netflix. I was on my laptop, trying to focus on invoices, glancing over at her every so often. Out of nowhere, her phone buzzed. The preview flashed big and bright in the dark. Same time tomorrow? Can't wait, winky face, and for a second my brain just froze. Rachel was quick. She yanked the phone to her chest, eyes darting up at me, cheeks flushed. I tried to play dumb, but my voice shook. Big plans tomorrow? She glared, tensing up so much the couch cushion squeaked. It's just a client. He's a weirdo. Don't start reading into things. I nodded, but my stomach twisted into knots. Didn't mean anything. Just caught the hearts and assumed. She snapped, cutting me off. If you're going to start acting jealous, go sulk somewhere else. I have enough on my plate. She got up and stormed off, locking herself in the office. I sat there, the blue light from the TV flickering over me, my optimism crashing hard against a new kind of dread. Maybe I was being paranoid, but maybe, for the first time, I wasn't. It was Saturday, the kind where you just want to check off chores and maybe enjoy a quiet lunch. Rachel was out meeting a client for coffee, the same story I'd heard a lot lately. I figured I'd surprise her by finally cleaning the car, since she'd been griping about the mess for weeks. I went at it with a trash bag and some old wipes, scraping out receipts, gum wrappers, and broken pens from the cracks. Under the seat, I found this crumpled white slip buried deep. I almost tossed it, but something about the bold Uber stamp made me pause. I smoothed it out against my knee. It was from 2 Wednesdays ago, exact time, 2:17 p.m. pickup. Rachel had been working from home that whole day. The start address wasn't our house. It was some fancy-looking hotel downtown. My stomach went cold. She walked in not long after, sunglasses in her hair and a bright, fake smile. She dropped her toad on the bench, giving me a quick peck on the cheek. I tried to sound casual, holding up the receipt. You left this in the car. She glanced at it, then back at me, her smile not budging. Uber. From the Grandview Hotel to here. I watched her face, hoping for something: confusion, surprise, anything normal. She snorted, a sharp laugh. Wow, snooping through my trash now? This is a new low, Will. I shook my head. No, it just fell out when I cleaned up. You told me you worked from home that day. She rolled her eyes, grabbing the receipt as if it was nothing. I had a video call at home, yeah. Then I grabbed coffee with Molly at the Grandview Cafe. Didn't want to drive and mess with parking, so I Ubered home. Seriously, you're going to quiz me on my movement now? What is this, the Spanish Inquisition? Something bitter crept into her tone. She crossed her arms, waiting for me to back down. I tried to keep my voice steady, even as I felt myself shrinking inside. I'm not quizzing. It just didn't add up. You never mentioned a hotel. She tossed the receipt onto the counter, scoffing. You want me to text you every time I get a cup of coffee or take an Uber? I guess you just don't trust me like a real man would. That hit me hard, and she could tell. She turned to her bag, clearly done with the conversation. I just stood there, feeling this mixture of embarrassment and guilt, like I'd done something wrong just by asking. She pulled out her laptop and a sketch pad, then froze when her phone buzzed. She snatched it up, hunching over the screen. I took a breath, trying to let it go, but then I spotted her purse half open by her feet. Inside was a glossy new perfume box, the fancy kind she only splurged on for birthdays. Rachel never hit her scents before, always left them out on the bathroom counter. I picked it up and turned it over. When did you get this? She shot me a look, tight-lipped. Client gave it as a tip. Told you, they're trying to butter me up for more free work. Can I have my bag back? I handed it over, but as she brushed past me, the scent hit my nose, vanilla and expensive flowers, exactly like Dimitri described. She saw the hesitation on my face and her eyes narrowed. Let it go, Will. You're acting weird. I can't deal with your paranoia right now. She swept everything up and headed toward the hallway. I stood there with the lingering smell in my hands, perfume, guilt, and something I couldn't explain, watching her disappear behind the bedroom door. The receipt was still on the counter, a silent dare I couldn't shake off. I started to wonder if I was losing my mind, or if maybe I was the only one actually paying attention. A few days after the perfume fight, I was getting ready for work when I realized my wireless headphones were missing. Last I'd seen them, Rachel had borrowed them for a run. I waited until she was in the shower, then started rooting through her big canvas tote for the case. I was about to give up when my hand brushed something jammed deep in the inside pocket, a folded scrap of notebook paper. I pulled it out, thinking it was a receipt, and numb the second I saw the words Dimitri Uber scrawled in her quick, looping handwriting. Underneath, a phone number. No last name, no context, just those two words that made my heart hammer in my chest. The noise of the shower faded into the background. I sat down hard on the bed, the note shaking in my hand. Dimitri. Not exactly a common name. My mind shot straight back to that Uber ride, his gold tooth, the crude jokes, the way he'd said Rachel's name. The door squeaked. I shoved the note back in the tote, but I kept my phone out, snapping a quick picture of the number. Rachel breezed by, wrapped in a towel, humming like nothing was wrong. Hey, found my headphones? Her voice was light, teasing. Not yet, I managed, keeping my tone steady. Did you leave them in your bag? She shook her head, hair dripping. I don't think so. Did you check the car? She was already halfway to the bathroom, barely glancing at me. I waited till she slammed the door, then thumbed at my phone. I must have read the note a dozen times in my camera roll, piecing together every weird detail. The Uber receipt, her perfume, her late nights, Dimitri's little jokes in the car. I kept trying to reason it away, but the patterns lined up too clean. I spent half the day at work barely pretending to troubleshoot Wi-Fi issues. My phone buzzed from my pocket, but it was just spam. I kept looking at the screenshot, debating if I should call, text, or throw my phone out the window and just pretend nothing was happening. Mid-afternoon, I ducked into a supply closet. My hands were sweating. I pulled up messages and forced myself to type, Hey Dimitri, can you do a ride tonight? Same time as last week? I signed it off as Rachel, hoping my hands weren't shaking too obviously. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over send. My pulse pounded in my ears. Was I about to shatter everything? What if it was some random business thing? Well, what kind of business needed just a first name and an Uber number, no context at all? Screw it. I hit send. Seconds ticked by like hours. My phone buzzed. Dimitri's reply popped up, way too fast. Hey, gorgeous, winky face. Of course. Want me to pick you up at the usual spot, or you want to mix it up? Then, a minute later, always happy to make it a special ride for you. Just say when. I swallowed so hard my throat hurt. The way he wrote, so casual, so familiar, it was like he'd done this 100 times. I almost dropped the phone. Tonight, 8 p.m., same pickup spot, I typed back, struggling to keep my nerves off the screen. Anything for you, winky face? Dimitri replied. You want the dress again? I couldn't breathe. I snapped off the phone, jamming it into my back pocket, just as a coworker poked his head in, surprised to see me hiding in a closet. You okay, Will? You look like you saw a ghost. I forced a shaky laugh. Just chasing down some cables. I'll be back at my desk in a sec. He shot me a weird look, but didn't push it. All the way home, the texts kept replaying in my mind, every word from Dimitri cementing what I didn't want to believe. I'd created a situation I couldn't unsee, and I knew, one way or another, it was about to blow up. I didn't even want to go to brunch that Sunday, but Rachel was insistent. You can't bail on friends just because you had a bad week, she said, putting on that yellow dress, the one Dimitri had mentioned. Besides, everyone's dying to see us. Don't be weird. I managed to nod, trying not to stare. I felt hollowed out, barely holding it together even as the smell of her perfume filled the car. We parked outside the noisy little bistro, and Rachel walked in, laughing loud and swinging her purse like she hadn't a care in the world. Our table was already half full. Ben and Molly, their new baby in a carrier, Leah sipping a mimosa, Ron checking his fantasy scores. As soon as we sat, Rachel launched into small talk like nothing had changed, complimenting Leah's hair and making a joke about Ben looking like he'd aged 10 years. I was barely listening, trying to keep up, nodding, yes, sure, great. I couldn't stop glancing at Rachel, waiting for her to slip. She kept reaching for my hand under the table, squeezing it tight with her fake smile, just for show. Halfway through the eggs and pancakes, the conversation drifted to rideshares, Leah grumbling about a chatty driver who wouldn't stop telling stories. Rachel's face lit up at that, and she turned to the group. Oh my God, have you ever noticed how men will believe literally anything a stranger tells them if it's in an Uber or a taxi? She was grinning, but there was a sharpness in her tone I'd never heard in public before. Like, you could tell them their wife is a secret agent and they'd probably run home and check the closet for wigs. Everyone laughed, except me and Ben, who shot me a quick, uneasy look. Rachel kept going, warming up, her gaze flickering to me. Honestly, the amount of times drivers try to stir up drama is hilarious. Some poor sap probably went home and started grilling his wife because some sleazy guy said something about her perfume. She gave a pointed little sniff of her wrist and smirked directly at me. Leah tried to change the subject, but Rachel wasn't done. Seriously, ladies, you ever had your boyfriend or husband get weird about something a stranger said? Men are just so gullible sometimes. She raised her glass, waiting for everyone to toast. The table went quiet in that way. That means everyone's thinking the same thing and nobody wants to say it. Ron coughed into his coffee. Molly shifted the baby in her lap, suddenly fascinated with her phone. Rachel kept her glass raised, eyebrows arched, daring me to say something. I couldn't speak. If I opened my mouth, I would have lost it right there. Ben cleared his throat and tried to steer things away. So, Leah, you said your mom's coming to town next week? Leah jumped in, voice too bright, but I caught her glancing at Rachel and me, then looking away fast. After a few minutes, the conversation limped forward, but the vibe was ruined. I reached for the check, desperate to leave, and that's when it hit me. Molly leaned in close to Leah, whispering just loud enough for me to catch. I told you not to get in the middle of whatever's going on with them. It's not our business. Leah nodded, looking almost guilty as she avoided my eyes. The realization landed like a gut punch. My support was gone. My friends weren't on my side. They didn't even trust me enough to ask if I was okay. They were warning each other to stay out of it, to keep their distance from my mess. Rachel stood up, smoothing her dress, all smiles and loud goodbyes, acting like she just told the funniest story in the world. I walked out with her, but I felt invisible, gutted, and completely alone in a room full of people who once had my back. That was the moment I knew, whatever happened next, I was on my own. After that brunch, the silence set in almost immediately. Normally, the group chat would be blowing up by late afternoon, someone sharing a meme, Molly organizing a game night, Ben asking for fantasy football trades. This time, nothing. Not even the usual jokes or food pics. I sent a quick thanks for brunch text just to break the ice. No one replied. 2 hours later, still nothing. I watched the little gray read receipts pop up next to my message, one by one, but none of them so much as liked it. I kept refreshing, hoping someone would throw me a bone, but the group stayed dead. Rachel sat across the room, scrolling through her phone, looking completely unbothered. She laughed at something on Instagram, but not at anything I could see. That night, I tried to set up a board game night. I tossed it into chat. Anyone want to do Settlers this week? I'll host. Snacks on me. The message just sat there, unread by most, ignored by all. I saw Leah's little face bubble hover for a second like she might type, but then it vanished. By Tuesday, it got worse. Molly posted in a smaller side group about a baby shower. Normally, I'd be looped in for logistics. This time, the message just said, ladies only, sorry Will, with a smiley face, but no warmth behind it. Then, Wednesday afternoon, my phone buzzed with a private message. It was Ben. Hey, man, are you and Rachel okay? People are talking. I don't know the details. Just maybe give things space for a bit. Take care. I stared at the text, heart sinking, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Was I supposed to beg for details? Act offended? I just typed, yeah, thanks. We're fine, and left it at that, but it felt like something important had shut off for good. When I got home, Rachel was on a video call in the office, door barely open. I heard her laugh, light and fake. I wanted to ask if she'd noticed the cold shoulder from everyone, but she shut the door before I could. To make it worse, work started to feel just as off. On Thursday morning, I was fixing a printer jam when my boss, Mr. Kale, graybeard, always friendly, stopped by my cubicle. He tapped gently on my monitor, lowering his voice. Will, mind if we chat a second? I followed him to the break room, nerves jangling. He shut the door, leaning back against the counter. Listen, I've noticed you seem a little distracted. Some folks say you're zoning out, missing details. I understand life gets busy, but we count on you here. Is everything all right at home? I tried to smile, but it barely landed. Just a rough week. Sorry, I'll get it together. He cut me off, gentle but firm. I'm not here to pry. We care about you. But if you can't focus, things will get complicated. Take a day if you need it. Just don't let it get worse, okay? He gave my shoulder a reassuring squeeze, but there was something final in his tone, like he was already warning me. As I packed up my bag that night, I realized just how far the fallout had spread. Not only had Rachel cut me off from my friends, but now things were starting to unravel at work. If I wasn't careful, I'd lose everything I had left. On the train home, my phone stayed silent. The only messages were spam and automated reminders. The group chat a graveyard, every part of my world shrinking fast. For the first time, I wondered how much further I could fall before something finally snapped. That evening, after another dinner eaten in silence, I locked myself in the guest room with my phone. The urge to just call Dimitri had been sitting in my gut for days, but I'd always chickened out. Now, with Rachel humming to herself down the hall, messaging God knows who, I knew I couldn't keep playing dumb. I pulled up the number, the one from Rachel's old crumpled note. My hand shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. I composed a message, pretending to be her, just like before. Hey, can you do a ride for me tomorrow night? Same arrangement as last time. Seconds later, Dimitri replied. Of course, sexy. Missed you. You want front seat again? Or want to try something spicy this time? I felt my jaw clench so hard I thought my teeth would crack. I pushed further. Spicy sounds good. Remind me what we did last time? My heart thudded so loud I could hear it in my ears. Dimitri was quick. You know, the hotel drop-off, then backseat fun. You wore that yellow dress, remember? God, you looked hot. Want to invite your friend again? Or just us this time? My blood ran cold. It was so casual for him, like he'd done this dozens of times, maybe not even just with her. Waves of nausea crashed over me, but I forced my fingers to move. Let's keep it just us for now. You like the usual hotel? He sent a string of suggestive messages, nothing left to imagination. Everything from what she liked to how she paid, including, I told my buddies about you, they're jealous. I didn't need details. I screenshotted everything, one after another, time-stamped and clear. The whole foul truth finally spelled out. I sat for a long moment, the phone heavy in my hands. There was no way to twist this, no room for doubt. Rachel hadn't just lied, she'd humiliated me, played me for a fool with some creep who picked up half the city after midnight. The cold feeling in my chest changed. Rage caught up to me, but it burned a lot cleaner than guilt. I realized I was done being passive, Done letting her gaslight me in front of friends. Done choking down my own doubts. I needed help, and I knew exactly where to go. I crept out of the room and into the hallway, glancing to be sure Rachel was still on her call. Then I thumbed through my contacts until I found the one person who might actually listen, Pastor Charles. I tapped out a message. "Hi, Pastor. Do you have time for a private meeting this week? It's about a problem in the community and in my marriage. Please don't tell anyone yet." I hit send before I could change my mind. Barely 5 minutes later, he replied, "Of course, William. My door is always open. Come by the office after work tomorrow. I'll make time." I set the phone down, exhaling for the first time all night. I wasn't sure what would happen or how ugly it could get, but for the first time in weeks, I wasn't scared. I was done letting Rachel write my story for me. Tomorrow, she'd feel the weight of everything she'd done. I barely slept before my meeting with Pastor Charles. My mind churned through every word, every screenshot, every moment Rachel had twisted the knife and then blamed me for bleeding. By the time I reached the church office, my hands were cold and clammy, but I made myself walk in tall. Pastor Charles greeted me with that warm, heavy handshake of his. He gestured to the well-worn armchair across from his desk, then closed the door behind me. "William," he said, settling in, "it's good to see you, though I gather this isn't a friendly visit." I couldn't muster a smile. I wish it was. I took out my phone, flipping through my folder of evidence. Texts, screenshots, photos of receipts, the note from Rachel's bag, everything. "I need to show you something. I need someone to see this, to believe me." He stayed silent as I handed him the phone. The room was quiet, except for his slow, careful scrolling. His eyebrows drew together, his jaw tightening as Dimitri's filthy messages popped up, one after another. He finally set the phone down and looked me dead in the eye. "William, I don't say this lightly, but this is serious. Are you safe at home? Are you in any danger?" I shook my head. "No danger, not like that. She's been lying to everyone, making me look unstable, and now our friends are backing away. I can't do this alone, Pastor. I need it to stop. I want the truth out where she can't twist it." He nodded, folding his hands. "You're asking for support, not just as your pastor, but as someone who can make people see what's really happening." "Yes." My voice cracked, but I pushed through. "She's been humiliating me, manipulating everyone, and she's not going to stop if I just walk away quietly. I need people to know who she really is. I want it to be public, but not a circus." Pastor Charles leaned forward, elbows on the desk. "That's a heavy cross, William. Are you sure you want this truth broadcast to everyone? Once it's out, there's no putting it back." I met his gaze. "I am. I can't live like this anymore." He sat back, exhaling slowly. "All right. Here's what I suggest. We do this at the end of Sunday service. There's always a moment for community announcements and prayer. I can call you and Rachel up together. You lay out what you need to say, but we keep it controlled. No shouting, no accusations, just facts and evidence calmly. If she tries to deflect, I'll keep the room with you." My heart was pounding, but for the first time in weeks, I felt steady. "You're sure? That's a big ask for a church." He nodded, eyes warm but serious. "This is what the church is for. Truth, healing, and justice. I'll back you completely. But William, I need to say this one more time. Be sure. When you open this door, there's no closing it. Reputations will be broken. Relationships will change. Are you ready for that?" I swallowed, looking at the floor, then back up at him. "I'm ready." He reached over the desk, resting his hand on mine. "You're not alone in this, son. Let's bring the truth to light. We'll meet after service. I'll set the stage. Rachel won't see it coming. As I walked out into the afternoon, sunlight streaming through the stained glass windows, I finally felt the balance shift in my favor. Sunday was coming, and this time I wouldn't be the one shrinking in shame. Sunday morning felt like stepping onto a stage I never wanted, but I was done hiding. Rachel went through her routine like nothing was off, curling her hair, joking with me about being late, not even noticing how my hands shook as I tied my shoes. We sat together in the front pew, her perfume filling the air, her voice bright as she greeted neighbors and old ladies with her best church smile. The service went by in a blur. Hymns, scripture, Pastor Charles preaching about truth and community. I could barely breathe as the closing prayers wrapped up and the congregation started to stand. That's when Pastor Charles's voice cut through the room. Before we go, I'd like to call William and Rachel up to the front for a community concern that touches us all. Rachel's head whipped around, a nervous laugh escaping her lips. "What's this?" she whispered, but already people were turning, whispering, watching us walk the aisle. I felt every tear burn through my skin, but I kept walking, Pastor Charles's hand steady on my shoulder as he guided us to the pulpit. He faced the crowd, voice calm but commanding. "Sometimes the truth needs daylight. William has something to share, and out of respect for honesty and healing, I ask everyone to listen." My voice trembled at first, but I pushed past it, unlocking my phone, holding it so everyone could see. I trusted Rachel. I thought I knew who she was. But these last months, she's lied about everything, her work, her friends, where she's been. I was told I was crazy. I was humiliated in front of friends. But I have proof. I handed Pastor Charles my phone. He read aloud Dimitri's messages, every disgusting compliment, every arrangement, every detail about the yellow dress and hotel meetups. Then the Uber receipts, the note from her bag. The room was dead silent, except for the soft rattle of someone's rosary. Rachel's face went white, then red. She tried to grab the phone. "This is private. You can't just..." I stepped back, voice clear now. "You laughed at me. You made everyone think I was paranoid. You brought this here, not me." Rachel rounded on the congregation, her voice shrill. "He's exaggerating. You know how these things look taken out of context." Pastor Charles cut her off, reading another explicit message. This time, people gasped, older women covering their mouths, kids gaping openly, parents shuffling them to the back. Rachel's composure finally broke. The tears came, streaking her makeup as she turned helplessly, searching for a friendly face. Her parents, sitting near the front, rushed forward, grabbing her arms as she sobbed. "It's not what it looks like. Please, Mom." But no one moved to comfort her except those already forced by blood. Her friends hunched in their seats, ashamed to even look at her. Around us, the whispering started, sharp, slicing, raw. All that talk about honesty, you see how she lied to him? God forgive her, but God, the nerve. I stood, not gloating, not smiling, just finally free of the weight she'd loaded on my back. What stunned me wasn't her breakdown, it was the way the crowd looked at me. Nobody pitied me now. They weren't awkward or dismissive. People gave me small, respectful nods, even a couple of men I barely knew gripping my shoulder on the way back to my seat. Quiet respect, nothing more, but it felt like everything after the weeks of humiliation. Rachel sobbed on the floor, her mother's arms wrapped around her. Her friends hovered at the edges, but none dared step closer. The whispers built into a storm behind us, but for once, I was on the outside of it, untouched, finally acknowledged for seeing the truth through to the end. As Pastor Charles closed the service, all I felt was relief. Judgment was falling on the right person at last, and everyone finally saw who she really was. I didn't linger. As the last hymn faded in, Rachel's parents tried to shield her from the stairs. I just kept walking, straight down the aisle, past the pews where people still whispered and looked away. I felt every eye on my back, but none of them stopped me. Rachel's cries echoed behind me, sharp and desperate, but nobody moved to help except her mother and father. Even Pastor Charles, who'd just closed his Bible, caught my eye as I passed. He gave a single, silent nod, nothing more. Outside, the air was cool and sharp, the church doors swinging shut behind me. A couple of older men stood on the steps, talking in low voices. I passed them and heard one murmur, "He did the right thing. About time someone called her out." The other just grunted, "Yeah, she brought it on herself." I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Rachel's sobs were muffled now, lost in the stone and stained glass of the building she'd always pretended to care so much about. For the first time in months, my chest felt light. I lost a lot, sure, but I'd finally stopped lying to myself. I'd dragged the truth into the open, no matter how ugly it was. I could breathe again. The last thing I heard as I walked to my car was Leah's voice, brittle and cold, as she brushed past Rachel's friends in the parking lot. "You made your bed, Rachel. Don't expect anyone to help you lie in it."